Have a day, Dallas Cowboys. 35-point win. Hercules NFL history. Let's talk about it all on tonight's episode. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Prime Time. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network with a lot more content coming your way. Make sure that you check out adzsports.com/Dallas. And as always, hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. Man, let me tell you, that was fun to watch. It really was. And usually I want to, structure the show and come up with the topics and the segments that we'll go through and have a structured further to it. Not tonight, because that was so fun that I'm willing to just go off script and let's just talk about tonight because, man, it was really one of the most special days of the season so far, the way that I see it, for multiple reasons. First and foremost, it was a divisional game on a short week, which usually will cause some concern. And we talked about it this week leading up to the game. I even said that, hey, I was expecting the Commanders to maybe put more points on the board that they ended up doing. So shout out to the Cowboys defense for that. But also, we witnessed NFL history because Daron Bland did it. He got his fifth pick six of the year, stands alone in league history. There is nobody else who comes close because everyone else is already behind in the rearview mirror. There are three players that have had four pick sixes in a single year, but Daron Bland now has five of them, and there are six more games to go, which is what makes it even better for Daron Bland. And we'll talk about it all tonight. Dak Prescott keeps balling out, and the MVP conversation is about to get louder, I believe, we've gone through as we've gone through here on the show. And I think we had that show last week. Dak probably needs to win the division to actually be a legitimate candidate for MVP. But who knows? That could still happen. The Cowboys play the Eagles in Week 14. The Eagles do not have an easy schedule moving forward, and even this Sunday against the Bills will not be easy at all. So everything can happen, right? Wait and see is I think the Cowboys status right now with that. But pretty much everything that could have gone right against the Commanders tonight went right. And let's start with Daron Bland play because I have so many thoughts about it right now, and I think it's what's on Cowboys Nation's minds for the most part. But before we do that, let me read some of your comments here. Let me see the chat, and let me wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you are enjoying it, whether you are with family, whether you are with friends, whether you are spending Thanksgiving by yourself. I hope that you are having a very fun Thursday night, and I hope that you had fun watching the Cowboys dominate the Washington Commanders in every sense of the word. Let me say hi. We've got Toxic Tom saying, I thoroughly enjoyed that game. Shout out to P Weasel. Shout out to Mark Aaron. Who else do we have around here? We've got Joey Bella. We've got Gregory. We've got House Nelson and Mark Aaron. Oscar as well. Seattle are bigger frauds than I thought. Shake my head, Oscar, which is definitely relevant for Cowboys Nation because the Cowboys played them next Thursday night, and it was billed as a NFC clash. And lately, the Seahawks stock has been dropping. So I do agree with that. Shout out to Daniel Berry as well, who is joining us on YouTube. Shout out to everybody. And if you're listening to the replay or you're listening to the podcast, shout out to you too. Thank you for tuning into the show. Let's talk about the Daron Bland pick. Man, here's my favorite part about that play. It was a 63-yard pick six. And the fact that it was such a long return for number 26, in my view, was super poetic because, in a way, pick sixes can happen very quickly and you're kind of like celebrating and you're just processing what just happened. Not tonight. Daron Bland put his hands on that football, and there was enough time as he ran to the end zone for the reality to settle in. And shout out Jim Nance because that was a heck of a call. It settled down on us. We knew what was at stake. And it seemed like Daron Bland knew too because it was not an easy pick six, man. There was some traffic on the way to the end zone that Daron Bland had to fight through. And boy, did he, because he was fighting off tackles on his way to scoring 6 points. He knew what he was doing. And I thought that was amazing. I would much rather see that take place than a regular, usual pick six where, you know, the offense is backed up maybe and the quarterback underthrows an out route and it's like a give me pick six. Nah, Daron had to fight for this one. And I thought it was like very special. The fact that it lasted so long, the fact that it took some time to develop. And there was a moment where we were like, is he gonna get it or is he not gonna get it? 'Cause I could have sworn he was getting tackled like at the 10-yard line or something like that. I doubted that he was gonna end up scoring because there was a moment where you could see the Commanders players over there near the end zone, and it seemed like a long shot, but Daron Bland sure made it work, made history, and you know that he cares about it too because he's been um, very, very, what's the word? Very excited when he talks to the media. He might not be a man of a whole lot of words, but you can see he's a very transparent dude, and you gotta love his attitude as well. Gregory says, "Yep, it lasted a while," and yeah, I thought that was pretty cool about the play. I appreciated that a whole lot. Mark Aaron says, "Who is better, Land or Dix right now?" Listen, I don't know about that conversation right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's worth really getting into the tape maybe and getting into the numbers if we want to come up with that with an answer for that debate. But right now, the debate that I would like to bring up is if you were a voter, if you were a voter for Defensive Player of the Year, who would be more likely to get your vote? Daron Bland or Micah Parsons? Because I'm going to tell you, it might be time for me to eat some crow tonight. Because last week, after the Panthers game, we evaluated Bland's chances for DPOY here on primetime. And basically, the conclusion was we didn't see him winning the award. But now you add the NFL record into the whole thing, and it might change things a little bit. It's definitely one that is tough to come up with an answer because number wise, you might be like, Micah has the sacks and Micah has the pressures, and Micah just impacts the game on a down to down basis more often. But Bland numerically might be more important to the Cowboys defense just based on EPA and other numbers of efficiency and stuff. Here's why. Shout out Cowboys Stats, who did a fantastic job breaking it down, but he estimated that EPA per play wise, a pick six is worth about 5 sacks because a pick six is not worth 6 points in expected points added. It's actually worth a little bit more than that because since the offense is in a position where since they've got the football, points are expected, even if it's a low number, then an average pick six will have a value of around minus 8 points added. And a sack is like around minus 3 point something, I believe, something like that. Actually, not really. It has to be a little bit lower than that because it's 5 sacks. What numerically, and on a piece of paper, it doesn't really matter. We're talking about real football, but I do think it matters when you are trying to assign a value to the plays that are making each player's pace. Because for Micah, it's about the sacks and it's about the pressures, etc. And for Daron Bland, it's all about the pick sixes, really. So numerically, if you were just counting pick sixes and sacks, Micah would need 25 sacks to have the same value on numbers that Bland has had so far. I would still argue for Micah. I'm going to keep it real here. I think that if I had a vote, I might lean Micah just because of what he means on a down-to-down basis. I do think Micah is the best defender in the NFL right now. and that's why I would put number 11's name on the card if I had a vote. But that being said, I can totally see the argument for Plant is doing something that no one else has done ever. 5 touchdowns for him. Let me put that in perspective, though, really quickly here. But first, let me see your votes here. Let me know in the chat who would be more likely to get your vote. Toxic says it's still Micah. All right, here we go. Gregory says Parsons, and he steers the drink. There you go. 2019 says Mark Aaron. Gilmore won Defensive Player of the Year, and he had 6 picks and 2 pick sixes. And EPA wise, and this is something that matters for the Daron Bland conversation. EPA wise, I think that Gilmore was the only one with a better EPA per total EPA when targeted than Bland in the next gen stats era, which is about from 2016 to today, I think. Let's see here. Micah is the most impactful to solid, but what Bland has accomplished is truly unique. I would pick Bland for the uniqueness. And some people might think that that's not a fair argument, but I think that it might be. I think the thing about Defensive Player of the Year and all of these awards is that they are tough to balance. On one hand, you're balancing who is the best player, right? And maybe who is the most impactful player. And then on the other hand, you're valuing what they did on the year. So, for example, I think if you were arguing about who was the best cornerback in 2021, not a whole lot of people would have argued for Trevon Diggs. And yet, he had to win the first team All Pro because he had 11 picks. There was no way you could not give it to him, right? Or it's more evident maybe with the MVP conversation. I think that in 2019, no one would have said Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. But Lamar had the season, and the MVP had to go to him. You know, similar to this year. I don't know if Mahomes is going to win it still, but say that he doesn't. People might still agree that, hey, Patrick Mahomes is the best QB in the league, but the MVP is not going to go to him if the offense keeps playing that way. And it's weird. The awards and the honors and all that is very subjective, but I can see the argument for Daron Bland. Interestingly enough, Darius Slay tweeted that it shouldn't even be a debate. And Micah Parsons quoted that tweet, and he just said, facts. A simple yet very powerful message, in my opinion, coming from somebody like Micah, who is in the running himself for the award. I thought that was a cool tweet to see from number 11. Now, let me put it in perspective here really quickly for you. Bland has 5 interceptions for touchdowns. You could call it 5 receiving touchdowns. Let's just change the terms there. He's receiving it from the opposing quarterback, but it still could be interpreted as such. Let me list you the players who have 4 receiving touchdowns and Daron Bland. I'm talking about offensive players here. There is not a whole lot of them. In fact, there are 13 of them. Tyreek Hill, who has 9. Cortland Sutton, who has 8. Romeo Doubs, who has 7. The same for Jordan Addison, Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, and Keenan Allen. And then Mark Andrews, the tight end for the Ravens. Tank Dell for the Texans. DJ Moore, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, and counting his touchdown tonight, you can add Christian McCaffrey to that list. Stephanie. That's every other player with more receiving touchdowns than Daron Bland. We got through that list pretty damn quickly, in my opinion. Here are some players that have the same amount of receiving touchdowns than Daron Bland does. And actually, now that I think about it, CD is going to be on that list as well. But PFF maybe didn't have the updated numbers on that, so apologies for that one. But still, here are some players that have the same amount of touchdowns or fewer. Travis Kelce. that just blows my mind, honestly. Travis Kelce, Jahan Dotson, Brandon Ayuk, Devonta Smith, Sam Laporta, Calvin Ridley, Hopkins, Adam Thielen, Devontae Adams. 5 or fewer touchdowns. Man, what Bland has done is really pretty freaking unique. Now, that's just based on the whole season for him. But let's expand this conversation to the entire game. So let's talk about the game as well. Overall, I thought that it went pretty much to some of our expectations, but not all of them. Let's talk about the one weakness that we thought that the Cowboys could really exploit on this one, and that was the secondary that ranked 30th in passing QPA entering Week 12, and the Cowboys came out swinging because they knew they could attack that. First drive, couple of overthrows from Dak Prescott. There's no way we can excuse. I mean, there's no excuses for those two plays. But clearly, Dak and the Cowboys knew what they were getting at. They knew that, hey, we're going to win this one throwing some bombs. And sure enough, they did. Dak Prescott was on fire for yet another game. And maybe it was a slow start for the offense. Brandon Cooks ended with 72 yards, including a 31-yard touchdown that had no shot of being defended by the Commanders. CeeDee Lamb got himself a touchdown for 15 yards, where again, no shot of being defended. He actually was facing a one-on-one in man pressure, and that just found him with ease. You had Kevontae Turpin catching a 34-yard touchdown pass from Dak Prescott again with ease, and Dak actually completed 69% of his attempts. Nice. And that's for 4 touchdowns for a passer rating of 142.1. Holy smokes. This Cowboys team, man, it's really clicking when it comes to the passing offense. And what stood out the most is not visible on the numbers that I just said to you. Maybe in the fact that Dak was not sacked. Maybe in the box score stats, that's what you're going to see that, hey, Dak wasn't sacked once. And this is against the defensive line that has Jonathan Allen and it has Daron Payne, who were honestly not much of a factor. Daron Payne had 3 tackles, and Jonathan Allen had what? 1 tackle. They were not involved a whole lot in this game. But even better than the sacks numbers, Dak was never under pressure. I think it's one of the cleanest pockets that we've seen all year long. Dak was chilling in the backfield, man. Dak was taking it easy, taking his time, finding his players. There were some miscues here and there, maybe, but nothing too costly, nothing too crazy. I don't think that we really saw a turnover-worthy play, though, from Dak, which is obviously very positive, especially when maybe he ends this game with like 4 big-time throws. Let me tell you, the one where did Dak even get hit? That's a good question right there from Toxic. Let me see. Jesus has, and Jesus is the the general stats information system for the NFL. 2 QB hits according to the NFL official stats. So that's going to be 2 QB hits against Dak. So yeah, Joey Bella is right on there. He said, I think twice. Yep, that's accurate. Twice all game long. But he was again working from a very, very clean pocket all day long. And it felt like the Cowboys had a whole lot of players open in several of the plays. Like the Brandon Cooks touchdown. Go look at it in the replay. And I think CD is open. I think Jake Ferguson is open maybe on the check down. There's another receiver who looks open as well. Cowboys just looked on fire entering this game. One of the things that I wanted to say is like the spray chart. Once you look at the spray chart from Next Gen Stats, left side of the field, middle of the field, right side of the field, Dak was just boom, 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 boom. It was an amazing performance from the Cowboys. And maybe there were some moments again where uh, I was gonna say actually, but I kind of like drifted there with the comments. Sorry about that. Uh, the Jake Ferguson scene, bro. We've talked about Dak throwing those routes a few times here on the show, and I think there's no question anymore. There's no quarterback in the NFL I would rather have throwing a seam route for one of the tight ends. It was a 35 gain for Jake Ferguson and Dak on that one, and that was right on the money. No questions asked. Jake Ferguson had it easy. And then later in the game, we see that attempt once more where Dak really just lobs it up in the air. somebody tweeted out that I don't remember who it was. Somebody tweeted out that Dak actually yelled Kobe when he dropped that Jake Ferguson throw over the seam, the one that they didn't complete. And Jake Ferguson kind of jumps up in the air, high points it, but cannot really stick with it once he goes down to the ground. But still, one of the best moments in the game, though, was between Dak and Jake, the one before that. I will say, I saw some people hate on Jake Ferguson because of that quote unquote drop, the second one. I don't see it like, hey, it was a tough play. It was a tough throw. It was a tough ask for Jake Ferguson as well. So I'm not going to dwell on it. I think it was a close play just overall. But man, other than that, don't have too many complaints about the offense. There were some penalties that were frustrating. I'll say that. Other than that, though, not even Terrence Steele, not even the interior offensive lineman against those monsters that they have a defensive tackle. Gregory, though, says shout out to Turpin. He makes stuff happen. Hey, Devontae Turpin, another big moment on offense. I think that Turpin, it's becoming a little bit of a trend, in my opinion, that they trust him with those vertical routes. And this is just anecdotally. I don't have any numbers on it, but I think of the San Francisco play, and I think of the Eagles play that wasn't really a vertical, but he was getting involved. The Cowboys getting involved in enemy territory. It seems like to me, those two not go routes, but those two vertical routes that have gone for a touchdown for Cavante, the one in San Francisco and the one today, they've both been near the end zone. And then the other was a kind of like a whip route or return route where he kind of breaks inside and then goes back outside against the Eagles. That one was also near the goal line. So it kind of feels like Turpin is making a role for himself when the Cowboys are, in baseball terms, in scoring position. And I kind of enjoyed that. We know that he's fast. We know that he can also track the football and he can also run some routes, which was personally my concern when we were talking about him earning a bigger role on offense. I was like, do we know if he can run routes? Do we know about this? Do we know about that? I've eaten so much crow when it comes to Cavante Turpin, and I will gladly keep on doing it, by the way. But yeah, good stuff right there. Now, defensively, there were some rough moments on today's game. I think that if Daron Bland doesn't get the pick six at the end of the game, we're talking about him in a little bit of a different light tonight because there was one drive where Sam Howell was picking at Bland. And I'm talking about the 75-yard touchdown drive where the Commanders went on like 13 plays and nobody could stop them. And Daron Bland was the most common target for Sam Howell right there. And it seemed like a lot of the plays were Sam Howell, and this is not just for that drive, but it felt like a lot of the plays from Washington were plays where Sam Howell had to leave the pocket and extend the play. And he did such a good job of attacking the secondary once he extended the plays. So shout out to him. I actually was not expecting a whole lot of that. I was expecting Sam Howell to deal the most damage when working from the pocket. That caught me off guard a little bit. We've seen Sam Howell struggle out of structure. We talked about him being the quarterback with the most turnover-worthy plays when he was under pressure. Yet that didn't seem to matter today. He was dealing some of those plays, but not enough to keep going against these Cowboys defense, basically, which ultimately made the difference. We saw some of the mistakes take place. There was the one turnover that was for a pick six, but I think we also saw a lot of mistakes just beyond the turnover, right? Some plays were the coverage pretty much held nicely against some of those extended plays, and there wasn't anything going for him when he released the football. Shout out Stephon Gilmore, which was one of the best plays of the game too. He was being targeted down the right sideline for a deep play. It would have been a touchdown if it was a catch. But Stephon Gilmore, that is clinic tape, man. That is what they're gonna teach young cornerbacks. Like really an excellent moment for Stephon Gilmore, where he is really sticking with his man, not panicking. He's recovered. He's not panicking. He's turning to the football and then sticking the hand right into the football. So there's no way they can flag him for contact there, even though there is some contact before the ball arrives. I was arguing about that with my brother, who was like, hey, that could have been flagged. And I was like, man, turn to the football while it's in the air, and then you stick your hand right into it. You're not gonna get flagged. House Nelson says that was pass interference. I'm happy with the result, though. Hey, listen, maybe by the book, it could be pass interference. I see what you mean. But I think that 9 out of 10 times, if not 9.9 out of 10 times, that's not getting called. That's not getting called because he's turning his eyes to the ball and he's hitting it with his hand. I think 9.9 times out of 10 that doesn't get called, especially on a go route. Mark Aaron says Aubrey is money on field goals. Once again, he did it, man. And this is a 52-yard field goal we are talking about. 52-yard field goal for Aubrey. Extra points, weirdly an issue. I think he's up to 3 misses. The first one against the Giants in week 1, and then there was one last week too, right? And now we see another one. Extra points are not as automatic for Brandon Aubrey. I don't know if I'm missing another missed XP, but field goals was automatic. Not a single drop of sweat for us Cowboys fans. He takes the field to kick for 3, right? Let's see here. Double R says Ferguson looked good. He's coming along nicely, in my opinion. He is, man. And again, I saw some complaints about the drop, quote unquote. I think it's just a tough play. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it for sure. My bold prediction says Jason was a Bland breaking pick 6 record tonight. Man, Jason, you nailed it then. It's crazy that it happened within 4 days, right? I think that was wild. The fact that he got the 4th one against the Panthers and we didn't have to wait a full week to see him break the record was remarkable. We saw it within 4 days. And that's because of the schedule too, but hey, it was unique. It really was. Now, let's talk about hey, PC on drums says I'm with you, Mo. No PI on Gilmore on that one. I agree, man. I agree. Seattle is getting handled, says Justin D. Man, you know somebody's getting handled when I don't even have the scoreboard or the game itself on my monitor here. I just focus on prime time. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't even care about the game anymore. And by the time we started this show, I said, yeah, I can wait. I can wait until after prime time to catch up with whatever's going on that game. Weird scores, by the way, on Thanksgiving. Not only the San Francisco one where they're just handling business, but Green Bay beating Detroit. 2 biggest concerns for the Lions, man, and they are a rival for Dallas in Week 17. 2 biggest concerns for the Lions to me really came to light. I mean, more than that, like I feel like we confirmed some suspicions about Detroit. Number one, their defense is an issue. Christian Watson and Jordan Love, they were picking apart that secondary right from the get-go. First play, and Jordan Love was just chucking it downfield, and they got a completion right away for like 30-something yards, I think 35. And then the other thing is Jared Goff under pressure. Still Jared Goff under pressure. That has not changed at all. People like to talk about Jared Goff as if he had evolved into a much better QB overnight. That didn't happen ever. He's playing again behind a very good offensive line. But once you get under pressure, if you're with Jared Goff, you're in trouble. And we saw that today. The Packers had some QB pressure going on. Goff was lost. And, you talk about the Cowboys. I'm betting on them getting some pressure in there for sure. Let me read this super chat very quickly. I do this for my shows in Spanish. I'm going to do it for this one too. We've got a super chat. How about them Cowboys? DC on drum says, DC for life, let's go. Thanks for being here, sir. Mo, shout out to you, sir, and thank you for the comment and the donation. I appreciate you. Jason says, late tackles out of bounds is called 9 times out of 10, and it wasn't. Detroit is a lot of hype, says Justin D. Gregory says, please smash the like button everywhere, everyone. Thank you. I agree with you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the celebration. Man, come on. Let me know if I am forgetting one. But I thought immediately about the Ezekiel Elliott celebration on the red kettle, where Dak was like spinning like a lever or something, and then it comes out doing the feed me celebration, and then there was the Four Horsemen celebration where they were playing guacamole with the football. That was Jake Ferguson. That was Peyton Hendershot. That was Dalton Schultz. I cannot remember if Sean McKeon was involved on that one, but I'm assuming so. And now this one, pulling turkey legs from the freaking red kettle. That was so awesome. We've learned a thing or two about that celebration since it happened. We've learned that it was basically Jake Ferguson, Jake Ferguson's idea. Dak didn't want to give him up in the press conference. He was like, "Hey, it was a team effort." He didn't want to point fingers, but some reporters have already gone out and said it was Jake Ferguson. We also know that there were four red kettles, right? So you've got one in each corner, but the Cowboys had loaded the turkey legs in every single red kettle just in case, because they didn't really know where the touchdown was coming from. So they were ready. They were prepared and ready to go when the time came. And Dak also said that when CD scored his touchdown, so that happened, and the Cowboys were what? That was a third to last TD, so that was when they went up 31-10. When they went up 31-10, that's a touchdown and then the 2-point conversion. That kind of let it be known that they thought of pulling off the celebration right then, but decided, you know what, not enough. Gotta wait a little bit more, and then they fired back with another touchdown that made it 38-10. And that was when they decided, you know what, bring out the turkey legs. And I thought that was so fantastic, man. I Right then I felt so happy. And it was maybe one of the most exciting moments of the season in that sense. And then you follow it up with the Daron Bland pick, and my voice was going out just from yelling. Fun game, fun game. Let's see here. House Nelson says it's like the saying goes: once you're Jared Goff, you're always Jared Goff. Yep. Justin B says it was an afternoon game that got flexed to the night game against the Bucks. Oh yeah. The one from the Red Kettle with Zeke. I remember that actually. That's true. Let's see here. Um, I see some arguments about the holding stuff and stuff. I saw some complaints about the holding for CD Lamb. I would like to see another angle because my guess is there's some jersey pull in there, and maybe that caused the holding to be called on City. Other than that, it felt pretty picky to me. But again, I will admit that maybe we didn't get the best look at it on the TV broadcast. We've got another super chat here. Let's go with it. Sheldon Johnson says, "Happy Thanksgiving." Sheldon, happy Thanksgiving to you, sir, as well. Thank you for joining the show. Thank you for being with us tonight. I really appreciate you, by the way, taking some time to listen to the show on prime time on Thanksgiving. That means the world to me. By the way, hit the like button if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the whole conversation. Now, other moments that are worth pointing out, or other things that are worth pointing out, the red zone. Another game where the Cowboys dominate when they get inside the 20-yard line. They went 3 for 3 on this one. They didn't settle for, 3 a lot of the times that they were in the red zone. In fact, none of them. 3 for 3, that includes 1 for 1 with goal to go. They were 6 for 10 on third down. My favorite part of that stat is that they faced 10 third downs total. That's awesome. And then the Cowboys holding the Commanders to 0 for 3 on fourth down. High leverage situations, and the Cowboys delivered every single time, basically. Third down for the Commanders was about average, right? 7 for 15, not that whole lot to say. But other than that, man, Dallas, a lot of QB hits. Jonathan Hankins getting 2 sacks was not on my bingo card. But it also kind of speaks volumes. At least for 1 sack, you saw the double team against Micah, and it's this reminder that even when we are not seeing Micah get the sack, he's making such a big impact on the way that the defense plays play out. A lot of pass deflections as well. You saw Juan J. Thomas get his hand on the football. You saw Marquise Bell, who was evaluated for a stinger, by the way. You saw Wilson, Gilmore, and Bland. All of them had pass deflections on this one. Overall, a pretty strong game. You could nitpick and you could come away with this complaint and this complaint and this complaint. But for a divisional game on a short week and a 35-point win, I'm not complaining, man. I'm not. We're going to analyze it and we're going to break it down over the next few days. Obviously, we're going to gear up for the Seahawks game starting on Sunday here on primetime. We won't see each other until then. A whole lot to talk about on the next few shows here. But for now, let's just call it a day. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed the rest of your Thanksgiving. I thought it was honestly one of the most fun nights of the season so far. And we've seen the Cowboys blow out a lot of opponents, but not every time you see Bland making history. Not all of the time you see Dak playing quite at that level. Can Bland win PPOY? Maybe he can. Right now, I'm not sure where I would lean. Can Dak win MVP? Yes, as long as he wins the division. I do think he needs the division to win it. And hey, we're gonna see what else comes of what else comes up, excuse me, in the next few days. And I'll see you on Sunday, 8 p.m. Central. Thank you so much and have a fantastic rest of your Thanksgiving and a fantastic weekend. See you guys.